Imagine living in a town where there are no streets, no roads, no alleys, no pathways between buildings. To visit your neighbor, you have to climb onto your roof, walk across several other rooftops, and then descend through a hole in the ceiling using a wooden ladder. Sound bizarre? This was everyday life 9,000 years ago in what archaeologists now call the world's oldest town. Welcome to Çatalhöyük, a place so strange and so advanced for its time that it challenges everything we thought we knew about the birth of civilization. Nestled in the heart of modern-day Turkey, on the Konya Plain, Çatalhöyük isn't just another ancient settlement. It's a revelation. When British archaeologist James Mellart first excavated this site in the 1950s, he uncovered something that defied all expectations. A thriving urban community of up to 8,000 people packed together in mud brick houses, living without streets, without obvious leaders, and practicing burial customs so unusual they still send chills down the spines of researchers today. But before we descend through those rooftop entrances and explore the mysteries within, let's understand what makes Çatalhöyük so extraordinary. This settlement flourished between 7,500 and 5,600 BC during the Neolithic period. That's right. We're talking about a time when humans were just beginning to transition from nomadic hunting and gathering to settled agricultural life. And yet, here in central Anatolia, people had already created something that resembles a proto-city. The first thing that strikes you about Çatalhöyük is its architecture. Picture a massive honeycomb of rectangular houses, each one built right up against the next, sharing walls, with no gaps between them whatsoever. There were no streets because there was literally no space for streets. The houses were constructed from mud bricks, with flat roofs made of wooden beams covered in reeds and packed mud. These roofs served as the town's walkways, its public spaces, its highways. Every home had a hole in the roof that served triple duty as entrance, exit, and chimney. Can you imagine the daily routine? You'd wake up inside your windowless home, climb up your wooden ladder, emerge onto your roof, and suddenly you're in the bustling heart of the community. Children playing, neighbors chatting, people moving from house to house across this elevated landscape. And when smoke from cooking fires rose through those roof openings, the entire settlement would have been shrouded in a mysterious haze, especially during meal times. Inside these homes, life was organized with remarkable precision. The typical house measured about 20 to 25 square meters. Along the walls were raised platforms made of clay and covered with reed mats. These platforms served as beds, seating areas, and workspace. But here's where things get truly strange. Beneath some of these platforms, beneath the very places where families slept and sat, the people of Çatalhöyük buried their dead. Yes, you heard that right. They lived with their deceased relatives right under their floors. When someone died, the body would be placed outside, possibly on the rooftops or in special areas, and left exposed until the flesh had been removed by vultures and the elements. Then the bones would be gathered, and the deceased would be interred beneath the floor of the family home. Sometimes entire families would be buried together under a single platform. Skulls were occasionally removed and plastered, perhaps to preserve the features of beloved ancestors, then reburied or kept as sacred objects. This practice tells us something profound about how these ancient people viewed death. It wasn't separate from life. The dead remained part of the household, literally the foundation upon which the living continued their existence. The boundary between this world and the next was permeable, intimate, deeply personal. But the strangeness doesn't end there. The walls of Çatalhöyük homes were decorated with some of the most extraordinary art of the Neolithic period. Paintings depicted hunting scenes with deer and wild cattle. Geometric patterns covered walls in red, black, and white pigments made from minerals and charcoal. But most striking of all were the reliefs and sculptures embedded directly into the walls. Clay and plaster molded into the shapes of animals, particularly bulls, leopards, and bears. Bull imagery was especially prominent. Enormous bull horns, called bicrania, were mounted on walls and pillars. Some rooms contained dozens of these installations, creating what archaeologists call shrine rooms or cult spaces. The bull clearly held immense symbolic importance. Was it a symbol of male power? Fertility? The wild forces of nature that these early farmers were learning to control? We can only speculate, but the obsessive repetition of this imagery suggests it was central to their belief system. Women figure prominently too in Çatalhöyük's spiritual life. Numerous figurines have been found depicting full-figured female forms, some shown giving birth, others seated on thrones flanked by leopards or other large cats. One particular figurine shows a woman sitting between two felines, her hands resting on their heads. This has led some researchers to propose that Çatalhöyük was a matriarchal society, or at least one that venerated a mother goddess. While this interpretation is debated, there's no question that female imagery held powerful significance. The people of Çatalhöyük were skilled artisans and traders. They crafted obsidian tools with remarkable precision. Obsidian, a volcanic glass, was abundant in the nearby mountains, and Çatalhöyük became a center for its processing and trade. These razor-sharp blades, mirrors, and ornamental objects were traded across vast distances, connecting the settlement to communities hundreds of kilometers away. They also made pottery, wove textiles, and created jewelry from shells, bone, and stone. Their diet was surprisingly varied. They grew wheat and barley, tended herds of sheep and goats, and hunted wild animals. Plant remains show they collected almonds, pistachios, and various fruits. They ground grain on stone querns and baked bread in clay ovens. The fact that they had domesticated animals but still relied heavily on hunting suggests they were in a transitional phase. 1 foot in the old nomadic world, 1 foot in the new settled agricultural life. What's remarkable is the apparent equality in this society. Unlike later civilizations with their palaces, temples, and clear hierarchies, Çatalhöyük shows no evidence of a ruling class. Houses are roughly the same size. There are no grand public buildings that scream power or authority. The distribution of goods and resources appears relatively equal. If there were leaders, they left no obvious traces. This was a community operating on principles we struggle to fully understand, organized perhaps by kinship ties, ritual obligations, or consensus rather than coercion. The settlement was continuously occupied for nearly 2,000 years. Generation after generation lived, died, and were buried in the same spaces. Houses would be demolished and new ones built directly on top of the old foundations, creating a mound that grew higher and higher. Archaeologists have identified 18 levels of occupation, each representing a different phase in the town's long history. This tells us something important. Çatalhöyük was stable, sustainable, and successful by any measure. But then, around 5,600 BCE, it was abandoned. The reasons remain unclear. Climate change may have played a role. The landscape was drying, becoming less hospitable to agriculture. Or perhaps social tensions, diseases, or changes in trade routes made continued occupation untenable. Whatever the cause, the people left and Çatalhöyük became a memory, buried under millennia of dust and soil. Today, the site is a UNESCO World Heritage location and continues to reveal its secrets. Modern excavations use cutting-edge technology to analyze everything from ancient DNA to chemical residues in the soil. Each discovery adds another piece of the puzzle of how these ancient people lived, what they believed, and how they organized their society. What can Çatalhöyük teach us? Perhaps it shows that the path to civilization wasn't singular or inevitable. These people created a complex, thriving community without the hallmarks we associate with early cities. No monumental architecture, no obvious rulers, no defensive walls. They lived tightly packed together, sharing walls and rooftops, burying their dead underfoot, decorating their homes with powerful spiritual imagery. They created beauty, traded widely, and sustained their way of life for 2 millennia. In our modern world of sprawling cities, anonymous neighbors, and death hidden away in hospitals and cemeteries, Çatalhöyük reminds us that humans have experimented with radically different ways of living together. 9,000 years ago, on a dusty plain in Turkey, people climbed through holes in their roofs, slept above their ancestors, and adorned their walls with bull horns and goddess figures. And somehow it worked.